Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into the story behind one of the most famous sets of laws in all of history. And believe me, this isn't just a story about some stone tablets. It's a dramatic tale packed with fire, fear, and a foundational promise that, according to our source, still echoes today. So let's get into it. So picture this. An entire nation, fresh out of slavery, is called to a remote mountain. Why? To receive a legal code directly from God. But here's the thing. This isn't going to be some quiet, gentle moment. As the source material makes crystal clear, the experience was going to be absolutely terrifying.
All right, so let's set the scene. It's been 3 months since the Israelites made their dramatic escape from Egypt. Now, they're all camped out at the base of Mount Sinai. And we're talking about a desolate, massive, imposing mountain in the middle of nowhere. It's right here that an offer is made that's going to change everything for them.
So this is the very first thing God says to them through Moses. And just listen to that language. On eagle's wings. I mean, that's just incredible imagery, right? It's not just, I saved you. It's about a majestic, powerful, almost personal kind of rescue. This really frames everything that's about to happen. Not as some random command, but as the next step in this epic journey.
Right after that powerful reminder of their shared history, the message pivots. A promise is put on the table, but it's a conditional one. You know, a classic, if you do this, then I'll do that kind of deal. And this one? This deal is going to become the very foundation of their national identity.
The promise had 3 amazing parts. First, to become a peculiar treasure, which basically means a uniquely valued possession, something incredibly special. Second, to be a kingdom of priests, which is wild. It suggests the entire nation gets this direct connection to the divine. And third, a holy nation, a people totally set apart. So that was the deal on the table, obedience in exchange for a really profound national destiny.
With that offer made, the people agree. They're in. But, you don't just walk up to a meeting like this. The next phase is all about intense and, frankly, severe preparations. The people had to get ready, physically and spiritually, for a direct encounter with God.
The instructions were very methodical, a 3-day process of purification. First, they had to sanctify themselves, which means to set themselves apart as holy. Second, they had to wash their clothes, an external symbol of an internal cleansing. And third, and this is so important, strict boundaries had to be drawn around the mountain. No one was supposed to cross them.
And if you were wondering how serious those boundaries were, well, this shows you. This wasn't a suggestion. It was a lethal warning. The sacred space was considered so charged with divine power that to simply touch the mountain meant you would be put to death. The stakes for this encounter could not have been higher.
So after 3 days of this solemn preparation, the day of the encounter finally arrives. And all of that quiet, methodical ritual just gets blown away by absolute sensory chaos. The divine presence doesn't arrive peacefully. It descends on the mountain with overwhelming force.
It all starts with thunder and lightning, a violent storm that shakes the people right to their core.
Then, a thick, dark cloud just completely swallows the mountain, hiding the power that's within.
Then there's this impossible sound, like a trumpet, that fills the air, and it just keeps getting louder and louder until the entire camp is trembling. And finally, the mountain itself begins to quake violently as the Lord descends in pure fire, with smoke just pouring from it like a furnace. This was a total sensory assault. And right from the heart of this inferno, this storm of fire and sound, a voice speaks. It's out of this terrifying, awesome display that the words we now know as the 10 Commandments are delivered, starting with those foundational laws about worship and loyalty. So after an experience like that, what happens next? How do you even process that? The people are completely overwhelmed. This next part of the story is all about their reaction and how this terrifying experience gets formalized into a lasting, binding agreement.
And the people's response is this perfect paradox. They are paralyzed with fear, begging Moses to be their go-between so they don't die. Yet in the very same breath, they pledge unconditional obedience to everything they just heard. It's this incredible mix of absolute terror and total commitment.
So Moses accepts his new role as the mediator.
He relays the laws and, to make it all official, he performs an ancient ritual. He seals the agreement with what's called the blood of the covenant, symbolizing the life and death gravity of the promise being made between God and the nation of Israel. The covenant was now locked in.
So we have this incredible story about law and terror, but what was the point of it all? Well, according to the source material for this explainer, the law was designed to do two things. First, it revealed God's perfect, holy standard. But in doing so, it also revealed, by contrast, humanity's total inability to ever perfectly meet that standard on its own.
And following that line of thinking, the source concludes that this whole situation created a need for a savior. It posits that the gap that was revealed by the law, the one between that divine standard and human ability, was ultimately fulfilled by the person of Christ, who, in this specific theological view, perfectly kept the law on humanity's behalf.
So, the story of the Ten Commandments leaves us with this central paradox. How does an agreement that was born from overwhelming terror, an encounter so powerful that people literally beg for it to stop, how does that ultimately become the very thing that defines a nation as a peculiar treasure? It's a fascinating question at the heart of this incredible story. Thanks for joining us.